Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Shoop webcast. Today, we will be discussing the different types of e-commerce marketplaces. More specifically, we're going to briefly discuss the differences between e-commerce marketplaces and websites, some of the business models, merchant of record, marketplace management, and pricing and charge methods. I am Tamara Fuchs, and I am Shoop's Growth and People Manager. And today, I am joined by Wes, who is our
Hey,
hi. Who's our director of sales. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, what you do with Shoop and just how your day is going and introduce us?
yeah, sure. Well, my day's going generally pretty good. My days are usually also fairly busy. So my role at Shoop is I oversee our sales team and sort of, make sure that, Shoop is always making money. So I'm like a sort of a top line kind of guy. But in the end, my background is as a developer. That's how I entered Shoop. So, building projects, working on their core codes and like additional plugins and integration work. So I have a very strong relationship with our lead development team and participate sort of in the technical direction of the product as well. So generally, I step in and work with our customers during the sales process when they need more detailed specifications, like business consulting or technical consulting. I usually step in and fill these roles.
Nice. So you're definitely the guy to speak to about the different types of e-commerce marketplaces for us. So that's exciting. I guess we could go ahead and get started. I was thinking we could maybe just first differentiate between e-commerce marketplaces and e-commerce websites.
Yeah. So an e-commerce marketplace and e-commerce website, um, like I would really, the distinction between these is like the e-commerce marketplace is more of like it's a web application where a website is uh, more of a simple functionality where like things can be purchased, but most of the logic would like live within the browser, maybe through some JavaScript that would talk to like payment processors. But no real magic is happening on like the back end server where like all of like the weird code happens. Whereas an e-commerce marketplace is like a true web application with a dedicated web server with some sort of like back-end high level framework like Django or Ruby on Rails or Express from Node.js. It's really doing some like business logic within like server-side code. There'd also be like lots of administration services. There'd be, vendors and customers would be able to, interact with each other, database information. So like the functionality would be much more robust from one of these applications. So like the difference in terms of complexity and hours produced are just light years apart. So like, multi-vendor marketplaces like Shoop, where there's a vendor, a customer, and an administrator, most definitely falls under the e-commerce marketplace category. Like you could like capture the larger target audience, you could do more transactions. You could build like these quick setups for vendors as well.
Nice. Okay. And then I know we have a lot to talk about today, but I think it would be important to just kind of speak to maybe some of the different business models for people who may be unfamiliar. Just super briefly, though, if you would go ahead and do that for us.
Yeah, sure. So like I would call these business models like also like audiences. So like there's B2B model, B2C, C2C. Really, it's kind of funny. Like this is a rainbow system. Like I see people putting all sorts of random things in here. I've seen B3B. Like it's just like people kind of make it up on the fly.
Yeah.
So largely though, I think these are the primary ones that people talk about. So B2B, so it's really like B2B, like, think about like a salesman trying to sell like maybe more industrial parts to like their customers who like maybe are producing oil and gas. Like this is really more like I would say like I usually think when I think B2B, I think industrial markets in the end. Like that really feels B2B to me. But like LinkedIn also does like B2B services such as like Sales Navigator, where like you purchase services from LinkedIn to basically get insights to their like database of like contacts that they and their connections. B2C is like product driven. So like the thing that really comes to mind here is like commodity products such as like shampoos, t-shirts, socks, shoes, maybe like, I don't know, makeup. Like these are types of things that you would buy off of Amazon. Yeah, you have like Amazon, ASUS, eBay, PayPal in the slide here. And C2C is really where like an admin moderator who's controlling the marketplace is trying to connect individuals who are trying to sell to other individuals. Um, Maybe the Uber would be a contentious example due to the lawsuits that Uber is currently experiencing over the 1099 contractors. But Airbnb would be a great example of this, where an individual is trying to rent their home to another individual, and Airbnb is facilitating that transaction.
Great. That makes a lot more sense. I know for myself, I'm not super, business savvy or tech savvy. And so this for me was a really great thing to kind of clear everything up, and sets a really good foundation for us. So thank you for that. I think we can move on to maybe like the payment side of it. I know everyone loves money and takes it very seriously. So I know we are going to speak about um, our merchant of record, what it is and why it's important and just some of those things. So if you wanted to go ahead and take that away for us.
Yeah, sure. So merchant of record is like, I would call it a legal designation by like government authorities within the United States. Um, I use this more abstractly globally because like, in the US we have sales taxes, but in Europe they have like value add taxes. And like, to me, like they're identical. It's a percent charge on like the cost of goods sold. It's just generally in Europe, like this is added into the costs. Like you don't see it. It's more of a behind the scenes thing. Where in the US, like tax is explicit and put after like is like specified in the transaction. So the merchant of record is really the responsible party to pay the taxes, who is taking like the responsibility of fulfilling the orders. They're really like they're the merchant, like they're really the person who's like doing the transaction with the customer. So how this impacts multi-vendor marketplaces, this is a very important distinction that each marketplace owner will need to really think about. The question they should ask themselves, they should look themselves in the mirror and say, am I the merchant of record? Am I taking responsibility over the transactions? If their answer to this question is no, then like in this table here, what you're going to really fall into is that they are not the merchant of record, which means they will have a semi-managed or not managed marketplace, and all of the funds will flow directly to the vendors. That includes shipping funds, taxes, and like the gross receipts from like their sale product. If their answer to this is yes, they do want to take on this like liability. And liability isn't like a risk, it's like the financial liability of fulfilling these like payments to the state governments and to the local municipalities. They will have a fully managed marketplace, and we would use a simple charge. What a simple charge means is that we do one billing that is sent directly to the admin, and then the admin then fulfills the vendors, like fulfills their financial obligations to basically pay the vendors for their supplying of the product.
Okay. And then as far as I know, we were talking about fully managed, semi-managed, not managed. Did you want to give us a little bit more information about like marketplace management overall?
Yeah, so the not managed is like these peer-to-peer transactions, where like people are talking to people. So like these tend to have pretty low transaction fees and like very low maintenance. So if you think about like when you go to eBay, I think Craigslist is actually probably the best example out of your like out of the list there. So like when you go to eBay, you automatically feel skeptical that you're going to get ripped off. Like I remember at my last move, like I wanted to sublease a place. I contacted 8 people off of Craigslist, like asking if I could live in their apartment for a couple months. And like I got some very competitive offers, like it was pretty low rent. But in the end, I felt totally sketched out, so I decided not to do that at all and like in a completely different direction. So like this Craigslist is your like completely unmanaged marketplace where you're 100% exposed to fraud and risk. Well, I'd say eBay and Upwork and Fiverr and Etsy are moving more towards a semi-managed marketplace where like there would be some consequence for vendors participating in fraudulent activities, and they could either be fined, removed from the marketplace, or reported to the authorities by these organizations. So I'd say that this moves into a semi-managed world. I actually, I haven't shopped on eBay in a while myself, so I actually do not know their terms and conditions, and I don't really don't have a lot of knowledge in the terms and conditions for these other companies. So speaking directly to which like category they fall into, is, I wouldn't want to, don't stick to my words, but like my general understanding is that these organizations are more of a move towards a semi-managed. And like when we talk about semi-managed, we have Grubhub, Shutterstock, Uber, and Rev. So, as we were discussing merchant of record, I also, I haven't worked at these companies. I do not know if they classify themselves as the merchant of record and how they report their sales taxes. Uber is a publicly traded company, I believe. So I'm sure you could like maybe read their, 10K and like figure out from like their like their financial documents whether they would be the merchant of record. But I honestly can't speak to it. But Open Door, like the real Lux and ThreadUp, like these would be marketplaces where like you're interacting with the brand. I would say also Amazon is probably more or less a fully managed, because when you're doing transactions like Amazon delivery, like Amazon Prime is fulfilling the orders, like they do drop shipping, like they can really have a lot of control over who can supply product in the marketplace. And like my gut would say that, Amazon is also calculating sales taxes on their marketplace, and they are also probably being registered as the merchant of record. That's what my gut tells me. So that's, kind of the rundown on these three, what they really are.
So for maybe like a retail store, if we were just looking at it from a customer's point of view, I know I had Sephora was on the sale before, or on the slide before. Sephora is like a subset as a retail. People can like shop at that location and do, pick up orders and things like that. Would you say that would fall under like a fully managed or a semi-managed?
Sephora is truly fully managed. So like they procure a list of inventory from suppliers like Chanel for perfume. My wife really likes milk products, like for like, lipsticks, lip balms. So like they procure these products, they stock the inventory, they retail it to the customer, and that money is then transferred to like the supplier of the product. So like this is your traditional value chain for retail. So like the Sephora is truly fully managed, and their e-commerce is fully managed as well.
Great. And so if we continue on, did you want to speak with us maybe about pricing methods and charge methods, and maybe even some examples that we've seen with Shoop?
Yeah, so I think I want to start with the charge methods first. So this terminology comes out of Stripe. So the Stripe API provides a couple different ways of billing customers. So we typically use simple charges and direct charges. So a simple charge is where all of the funds are captured in one payment, and that payment then flows directly to the admin. And then the admin can use whatever like logic they want to use to disperse the funds to whoever they want. While the direct charge, if you would have three vendors in one multi-vendor basket, you would see three credit card bills from three vendors. And like this is like direct charges where the money doesn't even touch the admin's account, which, this is like the important distinction where, the admin is no longer the merchant of record because they never touch the money. And like, if anything, governments only care about who touches the money in the end. So that's really how those two distinctions work. So within pricing methods, how this is going to fall back and affect pricing methods is that with a simple charge, like commission-based, subscription-based, and listing fee-based, like we can basically do any of these like with no problem. So the subscription-based and the listing fee-based are more back office things that don't participate in checkout. So I'd say those are almost excluded completely from this like merchant of record and charging method functionality. It's really this commission-based, it really becomes a distinction where we want to break out what's going on here. So with the commission-based, what this means is that, if a vendor is trying to sell, a bottle of shampoo for $10 or the typical $9.99, like the admin will maybe do a 5 to 15% commission for originating the sale for them. So that means if we're just doing a simple 10% like gross cost for the product, the admin's going to take out 5% of that. So like that's 50 cents that during the direct charge transaction would be stripped off the fee and sent to the admin. So like $9.50 would be sent to the vendor and 50 cents would be sent to the admin on transaction and for originating the charge. With a simple charge, like the full $10 would go to the admin, and then the admin would make the determination if the order was fulfilled. And when the order was fulfilled, they would send the 950 to the vendor.
Okay, awesome. I know with like pricing methods and whatnot, I was watching and reviewing the webcast from Farmers to Market, and Ian Pfeiffer was very adamant about having a low subscription rate for his vendors, to just attract like better vendors for himself, and keep that at a low cost, since his audience was not really making enough money to meet the needs of other software companies, like our competitors. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing. And I was curious to know, when putting these things together for our customers and whatnot, is there like a preferred method, doing commission versus subscription versus a listing fee, as far as pricing goes, or is it really just whatever like fits the needs of the business best?
Yeah. So this is like, on these pricing methods, like really the bottom line we're trying to get here is how does the admin make their money?
Mm-hmm.
So what I recommend customers do is that who's ever being provided the most value on the marketplace should be charged. So for example, when you're trying to like arbitrate the lowest possible cost for say legal fees, like you're probably providing the most value to the customer. So you then bill the customer for like the service. If you're giving vendors like access to a large community of consumers, you're providing the most value to vendors and you should charge them. Now, the method in which you collect this fee is dependent on how you want to like base your business. So if you want some stable recurring revenue, subscription based is your way to go, where you collect like, $10 per month over a determined term, which can be indefinite. So if you're going to go to like a VC firm or an angel investor, having a subscription based like marketplace, it's much easier to show cash flow and do future projections based on your user base, which makes doing evaluation much easier and makes it easier to raise money. However, if you're doing a commission-based marketplace, you can, make money basically. If you have one vendor who's paying one subscription, you're making $10 per month of that one vendor, but that one vendor could be making $1 million, and then you're only making $10 while your vendor's making $1 million. So that's also not ideal. So you'd also, you'd want to use a commission-based if this is going to be a like sort of model where you have a low vendor count with high volumes of sales. You want to use the commission-based. So like you would charge any percentage that you want. I've seen the typical is between 5 to 15%, and that would be taken on checkout. The listing fee based is more of like an advertising feature where you give the vendors like they basically pay you a fee when they list a product. This is something that Shoop doesn't really do natively. This is something we could enable if we wanted to. Really, we focus on doing commission-based and subscription-based like revenue models for our admins. Does that make sense? I kind of vomited out a bunch of stuff at you, but
No, that makes a lot of sense and actually clarifies a lot of other things too. And I think it's very good advice for those who are looking to, enhance their business and figure out which pricing method would be right for them. So thank you. Other than like payment functionalities and all the logistics of this, I know that Shoop kind of we pride ourselves on being a fully customizable service. And so I was wondering if you would talk to us about marketplace customizations, just at like a really high level.
Yeah. So like the non-customized marketplace is just like the out-of-the-box solution. Would be like our Shoop Rapid marketplace. So currently what we consider a rapid marketplace is a stocked marketplace where you're selling stocked products that are being shipped to consumers. Our standard integrations that come with such a marketplace would be a Shippo integration to handle your like order fulfillment using shipping labels generated by Shippo. And the payment would be handled by Stripe using a simple charger where the admin is the merchant of record. Really, the out-of-the-box solution gives very minimal like customization to the front-end UI, like the look and feel. So there's always a cost that comes with these out-of-the-box solutions where we do some front-end mock-ups to make it look, interesting. If the customer doesn't want any of that and they want to handle it on their own, we do have template engine systems where like templates can be modified by someone who has an understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. A semi-customized marketplace, really what I would sort of put into this category is that when we open our code base and we start making extensions to it and making changes to our default logic, like adding some new fields in, like capturing a little extra data that we wouldn't normally capture with our default marketplace. I would call these like a semi-customized solution where we're not really doing anything new. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just sort of adding some new like bells and whistles on the side to get some more data on the database. And a fully customized is like really when we're taking a full module out of Shoop, such as like a product module, and we're completely replacing it with something new. So an example of this would be our standard product marketplace is a stocked product that is like the out-of-the-box solution. So we would have to take out our entire product module and replace it with a new one if you're trying to sell, say, streamed products like a Netflix or a Spotify. This would be a custom project where we would want to fully customize this type of workflow for you. While like over time, probably the next few years, this will become more of an out-of-the-box solution. I wouldn't characterize it as such at this point, largely because this technology is developing quickly, and the digital rights management for streamed content is a very advanced topic and needs to be basically addressed on an ad hoc basis. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes. I just out of pure curiosity, I know you have like your background is technical as well as you're in your sales position, but is there like a type of marketplace that you have more like just a lot of fun working on, or that you find like super intriguing and interesting over another?
Oh God. That's I wish I didn't. That's a really good question. You know, I really like photography and I really like music. Like I used to play piano when I was a kid. I studied percussion and I was in marching band. So really, when we're talking about working with media, I really like those projects. We've done like a music marketplace with a customer called Cinder Track. We actually did like our first like customer session with Ben. So like that was actually one of my first projects I worked on with Shoop, and like I had a lot of fun working on it, working with Ben. So like I really enjoy those a lot. I think they're interesting. I think also dealing with digital rights management is a really interesting topic in general, because we're really talking about securing intellectual property in a digital format, which is, not an easy thing to do. And it's one of the big value adds for Shoop is that we have like this like underlying technical knowledge of how to do these things.
Nice. I'm really into photography as well. So if I was you or in your position to be doing these things, I think I would also agree that media seems to be a really fun thing to work with and customize and whatnot. So that kind of brings us to the end of this webinar, because I know we could talk really forever about a lot of things, but it was really good to have that brief like overview of things and really get all the different aspects of different e-commerce marketplaces. And I think we can open it up with some time for any questions that we may have, if there are any. Let's go ahead and see. I don't think we have any. I did have actually one, I guess, just more so for myself, but, what kind of made you want to transition into a sales type of role and kind of work with both? I know for me, I used to work in retail, and with that, I liked the retail side of things, but I would never actually do like the stock and shipment and whatnot, even though those two kind of overlapped. And so I was curious, like, what really made you want to branch out, and what was like the main kind of factor in that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I would say it's a compounding factor of two things. One, there was like an exigent reason for me to take over the sales organization for Shoop. Like the company needed me to do it. So like prior to me taking over the sales organization, our CEO Tommy was focused on it. But, CEOs have really big shoes. They have a lot of things they need to focus on. So like Tommy really needed somebody to take independent leadership of of the sales organization. You can't run a company successfully unless you make money, Tommy knows this, and I agree with him that this is like, it always becomes the most important function within a company is how do you take a product and make it valuable and then, sell it to somebody. So like when I joined the company, I have a background in sort of entrepreneurship, and like I have worked as like sort of a independent contractor, and like I have always had to make my own money, especially over the past 4 years. So like when you have to feed yourself, you have to learn how to sell. So when I came into Shoop as a developer, I think Tommy and I had like a good discussion about my background, and I think he always had this role in mind for me. So the reason why I took the job is that not only I felt the company really needed me to do it, and I felt like a duty to fulfill like, this responsibility to the company and bring my knowledge and expertise there. But generally, like I really like just solving the problems for customers. Like they come to me with new and interesting questions every day during the sales calls. And like I'm pretty good at just doing improvised solutions and thinking about them quickly and giving them some ideas that they can run with, which I think adds a lot of value into the sales process of having this consulting component to it, which I think other companies don't bring. And I think this is my unique value add to Shoop and to our customers. And I really enjoy doing it. I also enjoy the coding. So like in my spare time privately, I'm always working on new projects personally, trying to make sure that I'm always literate in the most modern techniques for server scaling, coding practices, and just generally like staying like up to date. So like when I do get new technical questions, I can answer them effectively.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that a lot of us kind of over time, I mean, I'm recently a graduate, so leaving college, I was like, oh gosh, like what am I gonna like go ahead and do? And I started working, and I slowly but surely found like a passion for different types of things within a certain field. And it sounds like that kind of happened with you as well, and taking on the duties of what Shoop needed you to do. So
Yeah.
um, we do have we do have another question. I'm having a little bit of trouble opening that Q&A. I don't know if maybe, Wes, you have access to that or...
Open. So I'll just read the question out. It says, with Shoop, can you have subscription for some vendors and commission for others? We could customize it to do this. So generally the vendor subscriptions is forced. Like it's an enforced like feature where if you want to enable it, we force all vendors to sign up. But we could organize it in a way where if they sign up, the commission fees are not paid out. If they do sign up, then, or if they don't sign up, the commission fees are charged. If they do sign up, the commission fees aren't charged. So you could mix it. It would probably take some customization work on our side though to get the logic really tuned into what you need.
Awesome. That was a great question. I don't think we have any more, but if any questions do arise after the webcast, or if you're watching this after it's been live, you're more than welcome to contact us at contact@shuup.com, and we can get back to you with an answer. I wanted to thank you, Wes, for joining us today and sharing all of your knowledge with us. It was super interesting for me, especially to learn about these things because I'm not really familiar. So it was really, really nice. And we hope that you guys will all join us on not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. We are now moving to bi-weekly webcasts. So on Thursday, the 17th. And look out for that email and newsletter with that information. Thank you again, Wes.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good day.
You too.